Hey there nation, welcome to the show. We help you to play miniatures wargaming on a budget. It is I, Commander CheapSkate, and now it's time for another edition of the 9th Saga. This is our series of 9th Age battle reports. This is battle report number 22. It is a 5,000 point battle that is fought between my friend Fresh Prince Bel-Air of House Laynell, the Silvery Host of Caldor, which is a 5,000 point Highborn Elves army, versus your truly with the Legion of the Hellmouth, which is my 5,000 point Warriors of the Dark Gods army. So we're going to throw it down 5,000 points. I made some adjustments to my list real quick. If you want to see exactly what we're bringing for each of our armies, we'll be playing some background music and showing some photos of the armies. You can see the list there as well. Feel free to pause at your own time to take a gander. With that being said, let's move on to the army lists. Alright, so that takes us to the deployment phase. As you can see in this photo, we're fighting on a 4x6 table. My opponent, Fresh Prince Bel-Air, is deployed on the near side of the table, while my army is deployed on the very far side of the table. As you can see, my opponent kind of went with a whole, kind of castled up. He went for deny flank type of formation, where basically most of his army is tucked up into the right-hand bottom corner of the table. And it's actually kind of a smart idea. I fought against my buddy Fresh Prince Bel-Air several times using my Legion of the Hellmouth list, so because of that, he's used to being ambushed from behind, also being outflanked, so he decided to deny me those advantages and castle up. So you can see that most of his infantry is located there in the upper right hand corner, bottom right hand corner, and most of his troops are located here. His cavalry troops are located on the left hand flank. Me, on the other hand, I'm kind of deployed right across the board from him. Had to angle most of my guys so that way I can move up towards him and try to get as quickly as possible. It is going to be kind of difficult for me to kind of crack this unit because I do rely on flanks as well as rear charges as well. So that's going to be kind of a difficulty. So what I decided to do is kind of take my cavalry, put them on the left hand flank of my army, focus my infantry in the center, and then my right flank protected by both the Shadow of Innistrad as well as Lord Tremendous. So the idea is kind of like try to slowly envelop him and destroy him that way. So that's pretty much deployment on this part. So with deployment done, let's go and talk about the individual deployment areas. Alright, so starting with the Warriors of the Dark Gods, my deployment is zone here on the left hand side. On the very far left, I got my 10 Wasteland Knights. Those are my second sons. Also right next to them, of course, I got my 3 chariots. I got my Mauler chariot, the Gestalt of Power there on the right hand side. Followed by next is the Rubric of Aether, and then finally the Scion of Sylph as well. Right behind them, I have my unit of the crew of the Sea Fang with Wolfric the Wanderer, Captain of the Sea Fang crew, right there in the back there. Those guys are ambushers, so they will not really show up on the table until turn number 2, where I have to roll d6 to see if they deploy on the table. So that makes up my left-hand flank of my army. And finally, making both the center as well as the right-hand flank of my army, I have my Stormlords, my unit of 25 Wasteland Warriors with Halberds. They also got Marks of Change as well. They also got the Banner of Speed and the Nighttail Standards. These guys have a movement rating of 6, which is pretty good because I got a lot of fast movers in my army. And also on the right-hand side there, I got Lord Tremendous in the back. That's my Demon Prince. He's packing the lore of alchemy for this one, and then right in front of him is my Shadow of Innistrad, which is my Vortex Fiend. And that pretty much makes the deployment for my army on this one. Alright, next let's talk about the Highborn Elves. Located here on the left-hand side, you got the 5 Illyrian Reavers. Located on the very far left-hand side, there'll be Vargate Vanguarding up here in a little bit. And then right next to on the right-hand side, you got the unit of 10 Highborn Lancers, the Silverhelm Knights. Kind of protecting his left-hand flank for his army on this part. And the vast majority of his army is located here in the right-hand corner, kind of castled up in this corner, protecting his flanks. On the left-hand side, he's got his Swordmaster's Oath, as well as Lordmaster looking in that unit. In the center, he's got his Everwardens, which is Phoenix Guards, with his General with the High Warden of Flame looking in that center unit as well. On the right-hand side, he's got his White Lion of Trace, which are his 15 Lion Guards with the Flaming Banner. And then right behind them, he got his Lothern Sea Guard, which is unit 24 Sea Guard with short bow, not short bows, regular bows and spears. His battle standard bear is also located in that unit as well. And then right behind all three of those guys, there's his three three Seaguard Reapers, the Reigns of Calidor as well. So it's a very, very hard to crack because I won't be able to outflank this portion of the army, or be able to deploy my barbarians in the rear as well when I do an ambushing roll. So it's going to be very, very difficult to kind of take on my opponent's army in this one. So that being said, we go directly to the top of turn number 1. So that takes us to turn number 1 for the Highborn Elves. Not only did he get deployed first, but he also still did the initiative on this one. And as you can see in this photo, he really doesn't do much movement. Fresh Prince Bel-Air does move up his Illyrian Reavers up a couple of vanguarding up 12 inches and kind of gives him a nice little blocking position to start harassing my cavalry. He also moves up his Silver Helms more to the left-hand flank as well, kind of moving primarily laterally across the table, so that way he can get a nice little flanking position as well with his cavalry. As for his main lines, all he really does really is just move up his main infantry units as well. He marches up his Sword Masters, his Phoenix Guards, as well as his White Lions, and also moves up a couple inches with his Lothar Sea Guard as well. And that's pretty much all the movement he really does. He doesn't really want to move too much because, you know, it's all about occupying and defending his flanks at this point. During the magic phase, my opponent gets the entwining roots off onto my unit of Second Son, so because of that, those guys are now -1 weapon skill. And the reason why he's able to reach so far out and actually hit me with that spell is because this battlefield has a lot of forests on this table, and because of that, the rules from the lore of Druidism, which is using that spell, you can either use the range from the caster or the nearest forested wood area that's next to the target that you're trying to hit. And so because of that, I got -1 to my weapon skill now because of that. There is a plus side over. He does miscast on that part because he rolled 3 6s when I get that spell off, so that part was kind of cool. But all it really does is actually just cause him to have 1 wound. He takes 1 wound from the impact that he gets from the spell misfiring, and he also loses the rest of his magic dice from the magic phase, which wouldn't be so bad for my opponent because he is packing a Lore Master with the Lore of Druidism, so every single time he casts a successful spell, this guy heals a wound, so go figure on that part. So anyways, with the magic phase over, we go directly to the shooting phase. During the shooting phase, my opponent, Fresh Prince Bel-Air, takes all 3 of his Seaguard Reapers and has to open up with multiple shots onto my warriors, my Wasteland Warriors. Does manage to kill 6 of my Stormlords, which is kind of sad as well because this unit is not as large as I usually take it. I know there's unit caps and stuff like that with the 9th Age, so because of that, it doesn't make my unit as durable as it used to be because the most I can take is 25 men if models if I decide to follow the unit cap rules. So because of that, I am kind of a little irked about it, but you know, bygones be bygones and all that. So with shooting phase over, there's no combat phase. With combat phase over, you go to round bottom of turn number 1 for the Warriors of the Dark Gods. So this picture is taken directly on the bottom of turn number 1 for the Warriors of Dark Gods after the movement phase. As you can see, pretty much what I decided to do is start moving up my forces as quick as I possibly can to come to grips and engage these Highborn Elves right across the table from me. I'm a Warriors of the Dark Gods army. I have no shooting, and my magic's kind of lackluster, so if I'm not really in close combat, I'm not really doing much of anything. First thing that I actually do, I actually move my chariots as well as my cavalry outfits on the left-hand flank, giving me kind of nice positions where to charge at my opponent's cavalry as well. My Second Sons are a nice little arc distance there to charge at the Illyrian Reavers. I also got my Scion of Sylph as well as my Rubric of Aether on either side of that. It's kind of standing so right there in the middle. Same thing with my Mallard Chariot, the Gestalt of Power, as located on the left-hand side there as well. At the same time, I march up 12 inches with my Wasteland Warriors and have them take place right behind that forested area there. So that way if my opponent wants to shoot at me, he gets -2 to hit because he's shooting at long range, as well as shooting through partial cover, so that'll kind of give my guys some protection against some long range fire. I also move Lord Tremendous over the right hand side as well to give out of the range of those and the shooting arcs of those bolt throwers and have them kind of take cover behind those forests. And I also move the Shadow of Innistrad so that we can start letting some magical support by firing some damage spells into my enemy's main line. So that pretty much makes the move phase on this one. During the magic phase, I rolled a really good number of dice too. I think I got like 12 dice from the magic phase on this part, but my opponent was just rolling out of the box for his dispels. He has the Banner of Becalming, so he gets +1 to his dispel attempts, so it was very, very hard to kind of get any magical spells off during this entire process. I did manage to get off my Silver Spike spell that I cast upon the unit of White Lions, so I managed to kill 3 of those guys. I used my Vortex Fiend in order to get the line of sight I needed in order to fire that spell off, but that was about it. My opponent's magic phase is really, really powerful in this go up against this list. So that's something I was not looking up forward to or really anticipating when I decided to fight against my opponent on this one. So that pretty much makes the magic phase for this round. And because there's no combat or shooting, we go directly to the top at turn number 2 for the Highborn Elves. As you can see, this photo is taken directly after the move phase. First Prince Belair starts maneuvering some more of his cavalry elements to the left-hand side. Gets him kind of like a clocking position with his Illyrian Reavers in front of my second son, so if I try to charge, I have to charge into those guys particularly, or if he decides to flee, I'd lose my charge as well. At the same time, he also moves his Silverhelm Knights over to the left-hand side as well to get a kind of like nice charge arc towards my second sons as well, which would not be good because those Highborn Lancers can be pretty devastating if they charge at the same time. Everything else in his army pretty much stays exactly where it's at because he wants me to come to him, and he's not going to come to me at all because he's more defensive build, so makes kind of sense on that part. During the magic phase, or turn number 2, my opponent Fresh Prince Belair has a really powerful magic phase. Because almost all of his spells casted off. I'm not able to stop him really because of all the bonuses he's receiving for casting. He's just having a really awesome time getting those spells done. First of all, he cast Flesh to Stone ability using that little stone pill in the middle of the table in order to give +2 toughness to his Illyrian Reavers. So now they're toughness 5, which will also match my strength in close combat. So that's kind of interesting. At the same time, he also cast Entwining Roots again onto my second son, so my guys have a -1 to the weapon skill, so another little hex and hindrance I gotta deal with in order to take on these Illyrian Reavers. And at the same time, my opponent also casts, I forgot the name of the spell, that's the one that gives a 5-up regen for a unit if it successfully goes off. I wasn't able to dispel his spells because I was just rolling so poorly. Gave his Lion Guards 5-up ward save as well, so those guys are not even deadlier, so the White Lions and Trace are even a bigger threat. And then he also casts his spell Regrowth, which basically heals back the 3 guys I killed, so now they're fully manned up again, which is really, really frustrating because it took a lot of magic dice in order to get those 3 guys killed, so things are not looking good for me so far in the magic phase. And because my opponent's using the Path of Druidism, for his lore attribute, he also heals up a wound every single time a spell goes off, so now his Druid is back to 100% of his health. So yeah, absolutely fantastic for me so far. And during the shooting phase, my opponent is able to kill 5 more of my Stormlords as well, which is pretty sad. I got kind of lucky because he opened up with all of his regular bows as well as all of his Seaguard Reapers firing multiple shot. That -2 to hit because of long range anvils become behind partial cover really saved a lot of those shots. So I got off pretty lucky on that part because if most of those shots had landed, this unit could have easily been cut in half very, very easily. So I'll take whatever chances I can get. I had to take a panic check because if I lost those 5 guys, I passed my panic check no problem because it's also my Battle Standard Bearers unit, so no biggie there. And because the Highborn Elves do not have any close combat, we go directly to the bottom of turn number 2 for the Warriors of Dark Gods. This photo is taken directly after the move phase, and as you can see, I start charging in some of my units and start engaging as quickly as I can. My opponent is shooting me apart with both magic as well as missile fire, so the closer I can get engaged, the better off I will be. First of all, on the left-hand side, I charge in my second sons directly into those Illyrian Reavers. My opponent decided to hold the line, so that's kind of like a little delaying tactic for those guys. These guys are also toughness 5 as well, so I can see why my opponent did that as well. The second set of charges that I get off, I get my Stormlords. I charge them directly into the Everwardens, which are those Phoenix Guard guys, those Flame Wardens, so that'll be kind of interesting combat to see how that kind of stacks up. I also charge my Vortex Fiend into the White Lions of Trace. Looking back now, that might not have been the best move, but at the same time, though, I'm just trying to protect the flank of the right-hand side of my Stormlords from being countercharged by those White Lions as well. For the rest of the movement phase, I move up a couple of my chariots. As you can see, I move the Rubric of Aether as well as the Sign of Self around that rock, that little rock formation in the center. Hopefully, I'll be able to charge into those Swordmasters in the next turn as well. I also take my Gestalt of Power, having to protect the left-hand flank of my second sons from the Silverhelm Knights as well. And then finally, for my ambushers, my ambushing band of Marauders did pop up. I decided to stick them here on the right-hand flank of that line, that shooting line of Seaguard, so that way they could throw their tomahawks at those guys with throwing weapons and then engage and then finish those guys off in close combat. So that pretty much makes it the move phase for the Warriors of the Dark Gods. During the magic phase, almost all my spells are pretty much dispelled by Fresh Prince Belair because he's got the banner of calming and he's just really owning this entire magic phase. So that was kind of demoralizing. I did get the spell Molten Copper off onto this unit of Swordmasters, so that was kind of nice. I ended up killing 5 of those guys right off the bat. I had to make these guys take a panic test, but unfortunately for me, the Swordmasters didn't end up running. I mean, these guys are Highborn Elves. Discipline is kind of like their thing. So because of that, he's not going anywhere as well. Pretty much a pretty lackluster magic phase, all things considered. So with magic phase over, we go directly to the shooting phase. And I managed to kill 1 Highborn Elf Seaguard is all I ended up doing. I had 20 shots with my tomahawks of my Marauders opening up onto the flank of that unit of Seaguards. However, I just flubbed a lot of my rolls, rolled a lot of 1s, a lot of 2s. So because of that, I only managed to kill one of these sea guards in the entire shooting that I brought these guys in, which is not good because usually my barbarians usually do better than this. So yeah, things are looking great. So with shooting over, we go directly to the combat phase, and the first combat we decided to focus on was between my Stormlords as well as the Phoenix Guard. First thing that happens, I issue a challenge against my opponent's general because I have a Battle Standard Bearer character, and that's kind of like his rule. He has to issue challenges. So he ends up doing that and managed to kill that guy in the direction of the duel as well. The general managed to put one wound on me, but I managed to kill his general without any problems. My opponent just kind of flipped his rolls for his ward saves because that his general died. So that was kind of cool as well. And then because the challenge is over, the rest of our units start fighting. In the end, I lost 4 Stormlords, and I think I killed 4. I killed 4 of the Phoenix Guard at the same time as well. Ended up with a combat score of 11 versus my opponent's combat score of 8, so I beat them by 3 points. These guys had to start taking a break test to see if they'd run away. And they end up staying because these guys are Phoenix Guards, and the Phoenix Guards don't run. After that, we have my combat between my Shadow over Innistrad against the Lion Guard. I managed to kill 3 of those White Lions in the process of doing that, but these guys were really making a lot of their good saves, especially with those regen saves. I was unable to cause any real damage on that part. They in turn managed to inflict 1 wound on me. I had a combat score result of 4 against their 3, so they had to take a panic test as well. And those guys stuck it out because these are High Elves, and everyone knows High Elves don't run. And then the combat over here on the left-hand flank between my second sons and Lyrian Reavers, I just atomized that unit like it wasn't even there. I decided to overrun because even though I destroyed that unit, I decided to overrun anyways and just kind of run away as quickly as I possibly could to get that charge arc of those Silverhelm Knights so that way they can't charge into the flank of my guys. That way I can start carting them around those forests and hopefully charge into the exposed flank of my opponent's High Elf army. So that pretty much makes it the combat phase on this one. And with combat phase over, we go directly to the top of turn number 3. So that takes the top of turn number 3 for the Highborn Elves. This photo is taken directly after the move phase. As you can see in this photo, my opponent just starts charging the rest of his army as well, starts engaging my troops and tries to finish me off. First of all, he charges Silverhelm Knights into my Gestalt of Power, so that my Mauler Chariot is facing 10 Silverhelm Knights all by himself. At the same time, he also does charges in his Swordmasters of Hoth into the left-hand flank of my Stormlords, and that's just looking all kinds of bad because I got Everwardens, I got, Everwardens, I think is what they're called, or no. Phoenix Guards on my front, I got Swordmasters on my flank. These guys got me in a crossfire pain in close combat, so things are not looking good either. At the same time, he does a quick combat reform and also moves up his Lothar Sea Guard and makes them move to the right, as well as take up a column formation to prepare to receive the charge from my Marauders as well, so that way they can start doing some damage as well. They don't get to shoot this turn because they did a quick combat reform, but then again, it also protects their flank, and they're also ready to bring down some arms to bear in the close combat phase. So the movement phase over, we go directly to the magic phase. In the magic phase, my opponent rolled Snake Eyes, so because that, his magic phase didn't really happen. However, during the shooting phase, the worst possible thing happens. I moved a Troller Tremendous away from the right-hand flank of the battlefield to kind of take up a cover position right behind my Stormlord, so that way he can protect the left-hand flank of that unit. My hope was that my opponent wouldn't charge his Swordmaster of Hoth because he wouldn't want to be countercharged in the flank by my Demon Prince. But it didn't really matter because what he did is he took all 3 of his Bolt Throwers, had him open up with a single shot onto Lord Tremendous, managed to plink him right off the table as well. I think they caused him like 7 or 8 wounds onto my Demon Prince, and here he is just laying on the ground, bleeding out a miserable, painful death, being shot to pieces by High Elf Bolt Throwers. Things are not looking very good for this battle report. And to make matters worse, my Stormlords get butchered to the last man. These guys didn't run away at all because they just got killed outright. I managed to kill like 3 Swordmasters and I think 4 or 5 Phoenix Guard as well, but the attacks these guys were dishing back onto my Stormlords was absolutely brutal. Killed every single one of my guys down to the last man. It was absolutely brutal and a horrible, horrible way for my guys to die, but what can you do at this point? So now I've lost my Demon Prince. I've also lost my huge unit of Wasteland Warriors, and things are just getting worse from this point on. To add to the tears, because I am now crying a river, my Vortex Fiend, the Shadow of Innistrad, gets killed off by the last of these White Lions. I managed to kill 2 more of the White Lions, so now these guys only have Strength 10 unit as well, but at the same time, though, I lost my monsters, so that's just wonderful as well. So things cannot get any better. And because the hits just keep on getting, those Silverhelm Knights just atomized my Mauler Chariot. I didn't get a chance to counterattack because these guys rolled so out of the box for Prince Belair did when he charged in. Took no losses, killed my Chariot like there's nobody, not even there. Does a quick combat reform because he blows that unit and has him face over to the right hand side to start charging the back of my other Chariots or into the back of my second son. So yeah, I'm getting my butt handed to me in these combat phases. It is really brutal. I don't mind telling you, so that's pretty bad. So with combat phase over, we go directly to the bottom of turn number 3 for the Warriors of the Dark Gods. So this photo is directly after the movement phase for turn number 3 for the Warriors of the Dark Gods, and as you can see at this point, I just commit everything I pretty much have left. All I really got left are my 2 chariots, my barbarians, as well as my second sons. Hopefully, the plan here was that I charged in my chariots, I charged in the Sign of Sylph, as well as the Rubric of Aether. I charged directly into the flank of the Swordmaster, so the Swordmaster is being charged in the left-hand flank by my Rubric of Aether. I also charged in my Wasteland Chariot headlong right into the Phoenix Guard as well. My hope is that between the impact hits, I might be able, and then the attacks I make, of course, with the crew members, I might be able to break these units. If I can make these units break and flee, I can run them down and destroy them that way. And so that's pretty much the kind of like the goal I'm going for here, get rid of those big, huge, chunky units. At the same time, I charge my barbarians into a Sea Guard. These guys are Sea Guards, so typically speaking, I might be able to break these guys as well, or kind of outright destroy them. So that's pretty much what I'm going with as well. And then I also moved up my second sons to kind of charge in whoever's left over, or directly to the War Machines to take him out. At this point, we're at a really critical juncture. If I can break all those units and then overrun them, I have a really good chance of winning this, even though I've been taking a lot of losses so far. And pretty much that was the idea and the scheme behind what I was thinking about during this move phase. So with no magic or shooting, we go directly to the combat phase. As you can see, this ended up being a massive bloodbath that was fought between my opponent's Sea Guard as well as my barbarians. He managed to kill, I think, 8 of my barbarians. Also managed to kill my general as well. My Oscalander Jarl as well. My Oscalander Jarl had to issue a challenge to his Battle Standard Bearer. His Battle Standard Bearer took a wound for his troubles, but he managed to kill my guy with no problem. So because of that, my Oscalander Jarl was killed as well. I'm also managed to kill, I think, I managed to kill 6 of his Sea Guard in the process of doing that. However, when it was all said and done, I had a combat score of 10. My opponent had a combat score of 12, so I lose 2 to my leadership, which wouldn't be so bad, technically speaking. Except that I failed my panic test and I get overran by those Sea Guards. They managed to run down my guys and kill my variants the last man. If you also notice in this photo too, in the previous frames, we had 2 chariots are located here as well. Those chariots are now gone. I managed to kill 3 Swordmasters of Hoth, the Sign of Sylph, just from impact hits. And I think I managed to kill 2 or 3 Phoenix Guard, as well as 1 other Phoenix Guard through a combination of impact hits as well as close combat. However, the return attacks these guys sent back at me was absolutely atrocious. That Lord Master made way to start hacking my my Rubric of Aether down with his great sword like it was nobody's business. Absolutely destroyed both of my units of chariots. These guys are still standing there. So in one fell swoop, I lost my barbarian marauders. I've also lost both of my wasteland chariots as well. Which takes us to the top of turn number 4 for the Highborn Elves. This photo is taken directly after the move phase. And as you can see, what my opponent decides to do, it just does quick combat reforms for all of his units. My lone unit of Second Sons is looking awfully lonely by itself. I got Silver Helms behind me. I got White Lions as well as Phoenix Guard as well as Sword Masters in my left-hand side facing my guys out. I got that huge column of Sea Guards still left over. And to make things worse, I got 3 Bolt Throwers that are looking down the gillet for my guys. And things are not looking good for me at all at this point. We go direct in the magic phase at this point, but we can just pretty much skip that part because the spells that he throws at me kind of are like hexes, so I lose a lot of my abilities, like -1 to my weapon skill, things of that nature. But however, he went directly to the shooting phase. He managed to kill 8 of my Second Sons. I had to flee on that part because I only had 2 guys left, but at this point though, I just kind of take off the entire unit because there's really no point having 2 more knights try to flee for their lives because, as you can pretty much guess, I've just pretty much been tabled at this point. And there it is, ladies and gentlemen. This takes us directly to the end of the game. As you can see, this ended up being a defeat for yours truly. You can just see how there is no Warriors of the Dark Gods models left on this table, and a whole bunch of High Elves are still left over as well. So that was absolutely devastating. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to go directly to the after action report because this battle report is now officially over.
I thought about staying. They offered me the chance to lead them, to teach them, to be king.
Uh-huh.
But my place is here, so I swallowed the juice, said the words, and here I am.
Did you say the words right this time?
Well, maybe I didn't say every single tiny little syllable, no, but basically I said them, yeah. Basically.
Alright, ladies and gentlemen, now it's time for the After Action Report. This is the part of the battle report where we talk about what went well, what went poorly, and what we can learn for the next time that we do battle. This is the After Action Report from the night Saga battle report number 22. It was a 5,000 point battle fought between my friend Fresh Prince Bel-Air with his House Lane-Nail, the Silvery Host of Calidor, Highborn Elves army, versus yours truly, my Legion of the Hellmouth, and my Warriors of the Dark Gods army. And it ended up being a defeat for yours truly. Let's go and talk about the losses real quick. For Fresh Prince Bel-Air, he only lost one unit, which is the Illyrian Reavers, whereas I, on the other hand, I lost Lord Tremendous, Accold Hellbrass, Wulfric the Wanderer, the Stormlords, the Second Sons, the Crew of the Sea Fame, the Gestalt of Power, the Scion of Sylph, the Rubric of Aether, and the Shadow over Innistrad. Pretty much, I lost everything. Let's go and talk about exactly what kind of led to my defeat on this battle report. First of all, my opponent dominated every single phase of this game. Moon phase, he controlled my moons by having his guys deploy up in a kind of like a castle formation, where his flanks were protected. Magic phase, he dominated because he's either dispelling my spells or casting really good spells of his own. Shooting phase, because he had war machines that were really brutal. And then combat phase, he had a lot of elite choices in his army, so he pretty much dominated the combat phase as well. Great tactical planning to keep his flanks protected and force me to come to him at this point. He didn't really leave much gaps for me to kind of exploit like he used to do back in the day when I used to be able to, put my barbarians right in the back of his lines and chop them up. He's learned since then. So because of that, he was very well protected that way. Also, good use of his flanking cavalry to keep me distracted by moving his cavalry around. I kind of spread my forces out to try to deal with those cavalry guys. I kind of messed me up a little bit, so because of that, great moves for him on that part as well. Same thing with his Seaguard Reapers. Those things are just as deadly as always, especially when they're taking in groups of threes. His Seaguard Reapers chopped down my Stormlords into halves when they engaged in close combat. They only had half strength, and they also killed my General Lord Tremendous as well. So that Demon Prince, without that, I also lost my magic phase as well. So very brutal as well. As for the magical phases, my opponent had a very powerful magic phase as well. Using the terrain to cast a spell was very important to get that reach he needed to get to my to get to his adding to his buffs as well as adding to his hexes. Also, dispelling all my spells meant that he controlled pretty much the magic phase. He had a really good job of controlling that because he had a Banner of Becalming as well as Cloak of Stars and stuff. So he had a lot of magical items that kind of helped him kind of balance that part out as well. Combat phase absolutely brutal with his special choices. He had Phoenix, he had his Flame Wardens, he had Sword Masters, he had Lion Guard. Those guys are all brutal close combat choices, and he used them effectively as well. As always, I was too clever for my own good in this one. I violated the principles of mass in my tactics. I was too spread out, didn't concentrate my forces well enough, and because of that, I paid the price, and I lost my entire army for that. As always, this was a great game, amazing opponent to play against. I'm looking forward to the rematch as well, so that's going to be happening sometime soon. As always, you guys, please feel free to like, comment, and or subscribe. Your guys' input's always appreciated. Also, check us out on Facebook, Instagram, and Google Plus for all the latest and greatest news about our hobby. Remember, we alter every Sunday between our 9th Age battle reports as well as Warhammer Age of Sigmar battle reports on Sundays, and also on Thursdays we alter between our Warhammer 8th Edition Fantasy battle reports as well as Necromundo reports. That's good to do for this one, you guys. We'll put number 22 in the books for this part. You guys stay classy. We will catch you on Side B.